Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm so excited to have Rachel, the Relationship Coach, on the podcast today. She's going to be talking about all things communication and conflict resolution for couples in lieu of Valentine's Day coming up very soon. And I want to first and foremost, thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. Just a reminder for everyone watching, the mission of the Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur podcast is to help women to create fulfilling lives and businesses. And we have amazing people like Rachel come on and share their journeys and tips and tricks to help you to create that fulfilling life. And creating a fulfilling relationship is such a huge part of having a fulfilling life. Your relationships play such a big role in your life at large. So since this podcast is all about fulfillment, do you want to start off by talking about what fulfillment means to you?
Yeah, I love that. So I think to me, fulfillment means like doing what lights me up and what makes me happy every day. Like, because when I became a full-time entrepreneur at the age of 25, that was a promise that I made to myself. Like, as soon as I let go of that other job and then it was all me, like, that's when I promised myself that I wouldn't ever live to be unhappy. So I just said, like, this is me making a promise that I'm not going to do what makes me unhappy. I think like I base my whole life around what fulfills me, with my two careers and things like that. Like, I think that basically being fulfilled means to me leaving anything behind that no longer brings me joy.
That's so powerful. And I love that promise that you made to yourself about being a full-time entrepreneur at 25. And I think that's a big testament to your character because there's so many people that are in these careers nowadays that, kind of handcuff themselves to the job and make their dreams of becoming a full-time entrepreneur a someday thing. So that's so powerful that you chose to make that promise to yourself and fulfill it and make joy the highest priority. And that's why I love having people like you come on the podcast to hit home that message, because I think the very same as you, which is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And what do you think is the most fulfilling part of everything that you do as a relationship coach?
I think like just hearing when couples come to me and say, like, you have helped us so much and like we wouldn't be where we are in a relationship without you, like just hearing and seeing their progress and seeing that like I made a difference in someone's life. Like, I literally changed someone's relationship and things like that. Like, I had a couple after we were doing coaching together come to me and say, like, before we did coaching with you, we didn't know if we would make it long term. Like, we didn't know if we were going to be together. And they were like, but now we know that our relationship can last a lifetime. And like, we do have the tools and the strength to do that, but we didn't know we had that strength before we coached with you. So making a difference is like really cool.
Like those testimonials just kind of hit home and confirm like being on the right path. And there's nothing better than seeing the transformation for clients. So I get that 100%. And do you want to share a little bit about your journey of how you became Rachel, the relationship coach?
Yeah. So I started as a couples therapist. But I wanted to make more of an impact. I wanted to be able to help more people. I wanted to be able to just show the world what I do. And I just one day was like, you know what? I'm going to make the switch to being a coach and online, because with coaching, you're online, you can help anyone in the world essentially, and with therapists, you're very limited to your license that you're bound to in your state. Like, you can't help a lot of people, things like that. But even I think before all that, what drove me to it was just like, like, you hear a lot of people vent about their relationships, or like, I might have heard like family and friends vent, but it's like I sat there and I was like, I wish I could help them, like sometimes as a friend or family, you can just sit and you can only listen and understand, but you can't do much to help. And so I was like, what if I like became a couples therapist and a relationship coach? I could actually help couples who are struggling. Like, I don't know, just one day it came to me and it was like what I wanted to do. And then I went to school and I got the master's degree, and then I did extra certifications online. It just, I don't know, it just came to me. It was like one day I just was like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life, honestly.
That's amazing that you had that big epiphany moment. And I love that you made that switch from therapist into coach. So you have that wider reach, and a little bit more of that freedom to be able to serve more people. That's so, so powerful.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah. And I know that you focus a lot on communication and conflict resolution when it comes to couples. What made you make that your niche within that coaching business that you have?
That's a really good question. One of the main reasons I did is because when I was a couples therapist for a long time, that is one of the number one things I would hear from couples is that they wanted help with their communication. And so that's why I kind of based my my like coaching program around that. Um because like communication is the foundation of a successful relationship. And but that being said, a lot of times couples will say we really want help with our communication, um because that's how they best know how to describe it. But there's other stuff also, going on, like challenges, and so that might be presenting at the top, which is like the number one thing I hear. But then we kind of get down to more of what's under that communication, or what are your specific struggles. But that is probably one of the top reasons I chose that, is because it's the number one thing I hear. And why I chose conflict management is because when I was studying couples and like the certifications I have, um, like basically conflicts, like 69% of couples conflicts aren't solvable. So
Mm.
we have to learn how to manage and like basically like live with our conflicts. Basically they're called perpetual issues. So every couple has these. Every couple has conflicts that aren't ever going to go away, because they're based on like fundamental differences in personality, or like just lifestyle differences, things like that. So you have to learn how to manage that. That's not going to go away, like you're probably not going to become ever less independent because you're an independent person. That's a fundamental personality trait. And the other person might have the opposite, thing going on. So you have to learn how to manage that in your relationship. So I've seen a lot of couples struggle with conflicts around perpetual issues, which is issues that aren't going away in their relationship. So learning how to manage conflict is important because it's like the number one thing that couples can like struggle with in their relationship.
That's so shocking to know that it's 69%. Like, what a statistic, because,
Yeah.
sometimes, especially people that are into personal development and spirituality, it's like, no, we're always going to solve the conflict. We're always going to have a peaceful resolution, and to know that statistic is really powerful. And I can see the value of really understanding how to manage the conflict and to be able to coexist and thrive despite the differences, right?
Yeah, and like a lot of couples, or it's a common myth, is that couples will say, "Well, you're not supposed to have any conflict, right?" And I'm like, "No, that's not true at all. Actually, you are going to have conflict because only 31% of your conflicts are going to be solvable to a like actual solution and will go away, and that other 69% is not going away." So,
Hmm.
common myth in relationships. That's also why I chose to really work a lot on with couples on that.
So interesting. And you were saying too about people come to you and say that they have a communication issue, but there's often lots of other challenges that are underneath. What are some of those challenges that they face that they bring to you as their coach?
That's a good question. I would say sometimes it can be like they are having trouble coping with something that happened, and they don't know how to communicate around it. So
Mm.
maybe they're having trouble coping with a loss, like miscarriage. Maybe they're having trouble with trust, and they don't know how to verbalize that in a healthy way. Um, those are pretty common ones. The trust one's really common. So, you'll see couples, they just don't know. Once the trust has been broken, they really are having trouble communicating, and they don't know how to get their feelings out like in a healthy, productive way.
Mhm.
So those are like a couple of them, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, trust is also one of those key foundational pieces to a relationship. So I can see why that would be a big one too.
Yeah.
For your program that you help people with conflict resolution and communication, like what are like the key things that you walk them through and the themes, so people would know what to expect if they decide to work with you?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So I would say that it definitely depends on the couple, but the basis of my program is we'll first go over like based off of research, the 7 levels of a relationship. And like the 7 levels of a successful relationship based off of like literally science, like the science of relationships. So we'll go through those together and we'll kind of pick apart which ones are your strengths in your relationship and then which ones are your areas of growth. And then we'll work on those areas of growth to try to use those to your advantage. And then we do a lot of exercises. There's one that's really powerful for couples. So one is like called mapping the cycle. So we'll map the cycle of like the argument cycle in your relationship and how that plays a part when you're like having a conflict. Because sometimes we get stuck in this cycle. So when couples come to me and say, we're stuck, we don't know how to communicate about this, we're stuck in this conflict. Well, mapping the cycle is really, really powerful because it gets them to see like where they're getting stuck and how they react and things like that. So that's another thing we do. We also do, I give every one of my couples like a custom date night packet. So we'll go over kind of what they like to do and we'll make like customized dates that they can do. So you'll get like 8 dates that covers you. If you're doing weekly date nights, that covers you for like 8 weeks. So that's a cool thing too. So, and then we just map out goals together for their relationship and challenges they're having. And we work on their goals. We work through their challenges and we get them to where they want to be in their relationship, you know, in 4 to 6 months from now.
It's amazing. So amazing. And it's interesting to see all the different methods that different coaches use and, you know, how powerful that can be and transformational for them. So if someone is listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube and they are struggling with conflict resolution and communication with their partner, what are like a few tangible takeaways that they can implement into their life today to be able to transform their relationship?
Oh, I love the relationship tips. Okay, so one, if a couple's struggling with like communication, sometimes in communication, we get so stuck saying like, maybe we just say, you know, did you have a good day today? Right. And they'll say yes or no. Right. That doesn't really open up the door for bigger or better communication. Whereas if this is something you can do, you can implement today in your relationship. You can start doing open-ended questions. So like saying, instead of saying, did you have a good day? Right. That's like, it's like a yes or no question. You could say, how was your boss today? I know sometimes that he can be difficult with you and you've been having a tough time lately, right? That's going to open up the door for communication. And then they can tell you about their boss. Well, he was okay today. He wasn't on my back too much. Just right. It opens up the door for communication. So start opening that door. Start using open-ended questions instead of just yes or no questions. And another one I would say is like, this is something I see couples struggle with a lot. So like validating each other's feelings when they're having a tough time, like with something not related to the relationship, like something outside the relationship. So what you can do if they come to you just really upset about something is share their emotions where you can. So say like, that sounds really like upsetting. I would have been sad if that happened to me too. And I'm sorry that happened to you. Mm-hmm. So sharing their emotions where you can is something else you can take away. Is like next time your partner comes to you upset, go to them and say like, I'm sorry, you're really mad. Like I would be mad in this situation too. Just try to sit with their emotions instead of like trying to solve the problem for them. Sometimes that's what they need. It's just to share and sit with their emotions.
That's powerful. I love that one.
And then the next thing, this is one of my favorite ones. This is something you can do just like every day to increase connectedness with each other. Like before you leave for work in the morning, if you don't both like work from home or you don't see each other for your work day, give each other a minimum 6-second kiss. Because 6 seconds is like the researched amount of time to increase connectedness and release like the love hormones in your brain. So that's a fun one too.
Yeah, I love them. Very simple and practical. So it'll be easy for people to implement into their life. And it's good that the science backs it too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if people are listening and absolutely resonating with you and your vibe and everything that you're sharing today, what are the best ways that they can connect with you to learn more about your program?
They can reach me on Instagram at Raylationship Coach, or on Facebook, Rachel Goodman, or you can message me. You can just message me with my number, which is 602-377-4811. And yeah, I would say Facebook, Instagram, or phone number is like the best way to reach me. So
Awesome. Yeah, we're
yeah.
going to leave all those links in the show notes or in the description on YouTube. Is there any final words that you want to share with the listeners and the viewers, especially in lieu with Valentine's Day coming up in the next few days here?
Oh yeah, so I have a Facebook group too. So I'm sure you'll drop the link, but if you join my Facebook group, I have certain things that are only available to my Facebook group. So for Valentine's Day, I have this really fun like date night ideas for Valentine's Day week. So if you join my Facebook group, you can get that for free. And then I also do some fun lives sometimes, like educational things only for people in my Facebook group. So join the Facebook group if you want to snag the free date night handout too.
Sounds good. We're going to leave that link as well. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and all of your practical tips.
Thanks for having me.
And happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I'll upload a new video on Thursday. See you in the next one. Bye.